What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. We have some breaking news. I'm recording this. It's about 8 p.m. now on the East Coast, and we finally have our first domino. And it's a very funny domino because I didn't think at the beginning of Rostermania this would happen. We thought in the spring that Falcons would make a big splash. We then thought 2 weeks ago maybe not. They might lose the LA Thieves situation, but it turns out that in fact they actually are going to win. And Cellium is rumored to have signed with Falcons. So let's break it down. I'm gonna break down what it means for Falcons, what it means for the league, what it means for all the top teams. I'm going to try and predict out to an extent some rosters here. I'm going to try my best. So let's dive in and talk about this big breaking news. All right, so here you go. Ronnie Intel article. The Vegas Falcons are set to make the first major splash of the offseason by signing superstar AR MacArthur Cellium Jovel, whose contract recently expired with Atlanta FaZe. The move pairs one of the game's most consistent slayers with Amir Pred Zulabari. I actually don't know how to pronounce AG's last name. I gotta ask him. But either way, MC and AG and I assume XNet are now a team of 3 on Falcons, looking for one, but they basically have made the first step and the first domino in Rostermania. So the expectation, I would say a couple of days ago, at least from my end, is that MC basically, MC aka Cellium, had really 3 essentially good offers. He had the Thieves kind of super team, or top team, basically him, Scrap, HyDra, and then either Dylan Envoy, or like they go get like a BZ or Kleenex or Joe Deceives or whoever. Like that would be like the best theoretical, like best team he can get on. Then he would obviously have the run back with FaZe, which would be probably him and Simp looking for 2. Obviously, FaZe are pretty rumored at this point to get 04. I just don't see 04 going anywhere else. So we're going to kind of lock him in now for the most part here. And then there's a Falcon situation. I thought, in the last couple of days, kind of thinking it through, I was like, Falcons will probably offer the most money. FaZe and Thieves will probably net to the same, but Thieves is the better situation. That there'll be a small enough delta between the Thieves and Falcons offers that he'll ultimately choose Thieves because that is the best place to win. But I do think with MC choosing to go to Falcons, I would guess it would have to be about, just the size of the contract being unable to turn down. Otherwise, if I were him, I would go to Thieves. So a massive signing for Falcons. Instantly, obviously, you now don't really have concerns about this Falcons team theoretically not qualifying for champs. They're going to be in the mix on weekends. The Pred and Cell duo is obviously a top talent duo of 2, all-stars. And then you've got XNet, who as a player, you don't know who you have yet, but he is, developing. So what do you do if you're Falcons now? I think that's like the first thing to kind of step through. And then we talk that through. There's a couple of ways you can play this. I was just on stream with, funny enough, Pred, Methods, and Dylan Attach. We were talking this through. AG was obviously being coy. He was saying, we're going to sign TJ and Big Wake. Like, brother, I get it. I think if you're Falcons, if you get Cellium, why are you not just pulling up from half court? Why are we not trying to throw the Hail Mary? So if I were Falcons, this Steve situation is now a little bit kind of funky. I'm trying to see if I can get Scrap over here because you know what I'm saying? Like if this was your theoretical team, right? You got XNID and Pred as your subs and MC and Scrap as your ARs. That's a pretty good team. Or maybe you also try and get Paco, but you get my point. Like I think you're trying to poke and prod at all of the top tier theoretical buyouts, Simp, HyDra, Scrap, Joe Deceives, OpTic players, sure, screw it. Like you're trying to see if you can kind of poke anybody loose in those situations. Now, on the second tier of buyouts that could be really interesting would be Rencor. Now, I had heard that Rencor was not for sale, but again, Falcons, you never know. I think then if they can only choose free agent options, you have a couple of different routes that I think they can go out here. So Abuza would be completely free. You can pair MC and Abuza, and that's a solid, real AR kind of duo right there. One of them would have to run a sub a decent amount, but I think you could kind of figure it out. I don't know if that'd be your best option in this situation. I think if you're going to pair a cell with anybody who's going to run the AR spot, it would be Draza. Now, you could also kind of stick with XNID on the flex option and bring in Tyler Abizi and run back the Cell and Abizi duo that's been so successful the last 6 or so years. And that way, you've got a really good tandem of 2 really quality S&D players. And yeah, this would just be a very good team. I could also see them going for Tobias, aka Kleenex. And again, this moves X next to an AR and all the roles kind of make sense. Another player who's won a bunch, You don't got to worry about experience around X, and now you built kind of a good winning culture. I think outside that, you got like Kenny and Kiz, and there's a bunch of other kind of free agent options. Neptune, would be a really interesting one. So I'm just curious for Falcons what they're going to do, but I don't really think that they got to kind of rush at the moment, because I think at this point now they kind of dictate a little bit of Rostermania, because if they're offering significant salaries, which is again what I'm assuming is going on here with MC, there's no other reason for me you would take the Falcons offer over Thieves if it wasn't about money. I just think that they are going to dictate the terms of Rostermania, and they can be a little bit patient at the moment to kind of suss out what the real options are. I think the knockdown effect for the league, who I think are the biggest losers, anyone that's in the Ibiza Draza sweepstakes, aka Toronto and Gentlemates. I think their plans are completely now kind of thrown in whack, because I think both these players are going to get linked to Falcons and to Thieves, especially in regards to Ibiza. And I think both Toronto and Gentlemates, who I know are trying to figure out this Joe Deceives thing, and I know that Adam Adamu tweeted, just want to make one thing clear, because in today's CDL, people seem to make stuff up. Joe is signed to us until the end of the next year. We will not be selling, trading, or moving him, period. So anyone that's on that Joe sweepstakes, and then also includes Toronto keeping him, you're not going to get this rumored Joe Ibiza draws a team, because it's got to now stand the test of whatever happens in Falcons and then Thieves, and then it kind of cascades into the phase Toronto LAG kind of jumble. The other problem now is that if Falcons want to get one of these players who require a buyout, so Dan or Rencor or Ibiza, or like, I don't know, any one of the bigger fishes that are out there that really aren't like available in the buyout market, but maybe they can get unstuck. It's going to turn into a situation where Falcons isn't going to be able to get that player locked in until the team that he's getting sold from is able to lock in their replacement. And if they're you're seeing like now you've got this real standoff situation that might make Rostermania a little bit dicey going forward. It'll be great for the content and entertainment, and all of us really trying to enjoy the the dog days of summer as this thing kind of unfolds. But it might stretch this thing out, because I just don't think there's a clear path to me on how this kind of unscrews itself. So I think that's a fun like kind of conversation, and we're going to continue to cover about current Rostermania. But like, I want to kind of finish this video talking about the future. And I think it's really, we have talked about now for, I want to say 2 years, right? Falcons was rumored to be coming in last summer. They obviously pulled the trigger on it. And we kind of talked about what that might mean for the CDL going forward. And last year, obviously, they wanted to develop their Saudi talent, find maybe 2 players. And then year 2 was really the splash year. And now we're seeing that happen. And we really have come to what I think what I tweeted kind of before recording this video, I think really gets at. I think it's clear that no one in the CDL, and I don't care if you're OpTic, LAG, Toronto, FaZe, whoever, you are not winning a straight up salary bidding war with Falcons. It's just not going to happen. There is currently not a team that I know of in esports, in the tier 1 esports, that's really able to go toe to toe with Falcons. Like, like for example, they're in CS, and I know they don't have the world's best CS team. They're ranked top 10 in VRS, but they just spent $2 million to sign a player who hadn't played a single tier 1 map. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, they're just, the money that they spend and the resources that they're able to use, like, I just don't think that people are going to be able to stack against that. So the question to me, when we talk about all the fun conversation in the next year about all of these players on 1-year contracts and trying to create the super team of Scrap, HyDra, Simp, and I don't know, Joe Deceives or a Cellium or whatever. The real question is, will anyone be able to go bread for bread, bar for bar, stack for stack, band for band with Falcons? Or will the OpTic juice also be the one constant in esports that's able to kind of push through on that, as Shotzi or Dashy or whoever, Merc 30, Perk 30 is part of that conversation too. So a bit of a fun one. I think, we expected this to happen eventually. I would be honest, I kind of expected it to happen with MC. And in the last couple of days, I really didn't think. And now we're back here, and like, it is what it is. And I'm curious what's going to happen this offseason, next offseason, future offseason, because I can really see Falcons. And look, like, final thoughts is, I don't think Exnid, Pred, Cell, and unless they get like a HyDra, Scrap, Simp, whatever, let's say it's like a BZ, right? I'm just going to pick like a really good option they can get, because you guys love to punk on me for being a BZ Halo, but let's be clear. Tyler is good. Okay, he's really good. This team is good. This team is not going to be like better than Thieves. They get like any AR, right? Like they get a Booza. I still think that Thieves is better. I still think that, OpTic, you're defending champs, both for EWC and for CDL champs, defending back-to-back champs. Their team, I think, is better. And so Falcons will have a chance to win events, but they're not going to have a super team, at least at the moment, going into the end of this offseason. But they're going to now be out of the bottom and in the contenders, and I'm curious to see how it shuffles everything in the world of the CDL going forward. It's a fun rant there. We'll talk about it more on stream in the coming days. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the video. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on the next one.